What's going on, guys? Stefan here, S&E's Garage. Today we're going to dive into the evaporative emission system on this 2013 Ford Mustang GT. So if you guys have been keeping up with the channel, you'll see we picked this thing up probably close to a month ago now. And we've been having a hard time getting this to pass inspection. You'll see that it has failed inspection. The first issue was I actually found out that it had an aftermarket tune in it, which was not letting the readiness monitors for the catalytic converter and the rear oxygen sensors run, which is kind of a big deal here in New Jersey because for a vehicle that's, I believe, 2002, I think, 2001 and newer, you're only allowed one readiness monitor to not be ready, and this vehicle had three. So we took it over to Ford. I went to one of my buddies that works over at the Ford dealership, and he did what's called, basically he flashed the as-built data back into the PCM. The car actually shifts a lot smoother now. Whoever had this tuned must have had it tuned very aggressively because it used to slam into gear. It was a very hard shifting car. Now it actually shifts a lot nicer. Our cold start issue that we had with the car is fixed, and now it's setting some codes. So we're going to go ahead and start digging into it and seeing what we can't come up with to get this thing to pass inspection. So the code that we are pulling on this is a P1450. And oddly enough, the check engine light never even came on. It basically, we took the car on a really long drive and I plugged it in to check the readiness monitors, and fuel system was not ready. So then I went ahead and I scanned it, and that was what I found in pending. So what that code points to is, for some reason, the fuel tank pressure sensor is seeing something that it doesn't like. It's either not pulling a vacuum or it's not pulling the correct vacuum when it's trying to purge and run its test. So the first thing that we're going to check here is the purge valve. We're going to test it two ways. We're going to test it electronically, and we're going to test it mechanically. So let's go ahead, let's plug our X-Tool D8 in, let's pop the hood and dig into it. Alright guys, so to find your purge valve, you're going to want to look for the two lines that come from the rear of the car. There's going to be a fuel line and a purge line, and possibly a fuel return line. Usually those two or three hoses are grouped together, and here you'll see these two hoses here go down under the fender. So we're going to follow this line here around this hard plastic line, and it actually goes up under this engine cover. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this strut tower brace. It looks like those are two 12 to 14 millimeter bolts. We're going to go ahead and pull all four of them out. We're going to get the strut tower brace out of the way, and that's going to give us access to the engine cover, and I'm willing to bet that the purge valve is right under there. For what it's worth, they are 13 millimeters. We got all four of those nuts off. We can go ahead and lift our strut tower brace up and out of the way. Just going to rest it over here on our toolbox. Now we are going to pull up to release this engine cover. There's going to be two clips in the front and two clips in the back, and it's going to come right off. Now our purge valve on this vehicle, if we follow that line that I showed you, comes here, up, and over. This is going to be our purge valve right here. It's held in with two bolts. Now this valve is plumbed directly into the intake manifold. On some cars you're going to have two lines, one going to it and then one going from it to the intake manifold. So that is not the case on this car. This is actually going to make this a little bit easier. So let me get you up on the tripod, and we're going to go ahead and actuation test this. We want to see if it's clicking and working electronically. That's going to be our first step in diagnosing this. Alright guys, so what we're doing now is we're going ahead and we're auto-VINning our car. You'll see it's going to pull up our VIN, the model year, the engine. We're going to go ahead and hit OK.
And now we are going to go to system selection. We're going to go to powertrain control module, and we're going to go to actuation tests. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and we are going to look for evaporative emission canister purge valve, which is right here. And we're going to go ahead and actuate it. And then we're going to go ahead and hop back over to the camera and see if we can hear it.
So as you saw over there on our X-Tool D8, we went ahead and turned on our purge valve. And it is, in fact, purging. So the next thing that we're going to want to do, there's two ways you can do this. We basically need to test if this is holding vacuum when it is not activated. So what you can do is you can unplug it, disconnect it, and test it with a vacuum gauge, or you can blow air into one side with your mouth or suck into one side with your mouth and see if there's any vacuum on the other side. Or you could just unplug it, pull this hose off, start the engine, and put your thumb on the end of the valve and see if you feel any vacuum. We're going to go with that route just because it's quick, easy, and simple. So let's go ahead. We're going to unplug our D8. We're going to start the car and unplug all this stuff and see what we got. So to disconnect this clip here, we already went ahead and unplugged it. There's two little plastic tabs here that we want to basically spread apart. So we're just going to use two little picks here. We're going to spread them apart, and we're going to go ahead and pull this hose off. So you'll see here we have our vacuum hose disconnected. Let me just show you what I was talking about. There's two little tabs. You're going to see one on the left right here and one on the right. We basically just put our pick right in between the two of them, spread them apart, and pulled it off. Now we're going to go ahead and start the car. This is unplugged, and we're just going to put our thumb here to see if we feel any vacuum drawing through it. And if we do, this valve is no good. Probably can't hear me either, but I definitely have some vacuum getting past this. It's sucking on my hand. So this valve is going to be a candidate for replacement, without a doubt. It's not. It's basically it's stuck partially open. If I put my finger on it and let go, you might be able to hear it pop. Yeah, it's not going to be enough, but we're going to go ahead and replace it. Alright guys, so that is exactly the smoking gun we needed. That without a doubt is our problem. That is why our readiness monitors are not running, and that is why we have our codes. So we went ahead and purchased a Motorcraft replacement. This is an OEM replacement. Part number right here. I'll go ahead and I'll link this down in the video description below, so if you guys need one, you can purchase it right from there. If you do purchase from those links, the channel does get a small cut, and we greatly appreciate it because it allows us to keep doing things like this. So we're going to get two 8mm sockets, and we're going to pull this valve out, and we're going to replace it. One. There's number two. Go ahead and put our bolts here on the hood cowl, and we're going to twist and pull until the valve comes out. Like so. So here's our old valve. Now what we're going to do with our new one is we're going to take some silicone spray, and we're going to spray down this neoprene or rubber O-ring. That way it slides right in, it doesn't rip as we're putting it in, and it has a nice fresh seal. Alright guys, like I said, here's our new purge valve. We're just going to go ahead, spray both sides of this, and then we are very carefully going to slide this back into the intake, and you'll see how nice and easy it went in compared to how it came out because we lubed that seal up. So now we're going to start our two bolts here by hand. Alright, and we're just going to snug these down. You're going into plastic. Keep that in mind, so you really don't need to kill them. Alright, now before we plug this in, we're going to pull this rubber cap off. We're going to start it, and we're going to check the same thing. We're going to make sure we have no vacuum on this end of the port. Basically, we're going to do everything in reverse order here. We're going to plug this back in. We're going to reconnect our hose. We're going to put our engine cover back on, and we're going to put our crash bar back on, or our strut tower brace. All right, so here's our engine cover. You're going to see you have 4 little rubber stops or stays on the intake manifold itself, and then you have the 4 nipples here. So we're just going to line them up as best we can and push down, and you'll feel them seat like so. Let's grab our strut tower brace here. Run these down. All right, let's go ahead back to our X-Tool D8. Let's clear our codes, reset our adaptives, and let's go take it for a ride.
All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead here. We're going to go into auto scan. Click OK, automatic scan, and it's going to run all 15 modules. There's probably going to be codes in there for the circuit because we went ahead and unplugged it. Get a DTC report. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to back out of this. We're going to clear everything. And let's go back here. Yes. Going to go to system selection, powertrain control module, special functions. And we're going to reset keep alive menu. And we're going to follow the prompt here. Turn it off. Okay. All right.
All right, guys. Well, I hope that helped you diagnose a purge valve concern on your vehicle, whether it's a Mustang or some other Ford. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe. It's a huge help. It helps our channel grow, and we do greatly appreciate it. So all that's left is hop into this thing and take a drive and make sure all of our readiness monitors set. So please, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.